Hello, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Are You a Fan? Okay, if you like the episode, give us a like, share, follow, and please enjoy. So, as always, a question for Joker and the audience.
That's it.
If you could gain the ability and the power to hunt down gods, would you?
If I knew I had the ability to be able to take them on and get rid of them, yeah. That it seems like it'd be an interesting, be like hunting for sport. That'd be like the ultimate hunt.
Yeah, screw man. Dr. Moreau ain't got none on gods.
Yeah.
That would be a fun battle and hunt. Especially if like you weren't too OP. Where it was like a question of like you'd see him and you're like, ooh, I better be on my game.
Kind of like you had to plan a little bit.
Yeah, plan a little bit or actually put in like some effort. Like it's one of those like you have the ability to take them and that, but it's not a guaranteed win.
Yeah. That'd do it.
Oh, in that case, heck yeah, I'd do it. So, folks, that brings us into this week's character, Gore the God Butcher. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, let's get into it. Real world first. So, Jason Aaron and Asad Ribic decide to relaunch the Thor franchise during the Marvel Now initiative. Gore first appeared in Thor God of Thunder issue number 1, January 2013. That's all we got for Real World.
Yeah, it's been a very short-lived character.
Yeah.
And it's not quite as new as our Miss Marvel, but it's pretty up there.
It's pretty up there as far as new, but also just like, yeah, not a lot of Real World, like, there wasn't like a lot of seeds planted in the past of like them being like, no, I was always going to go there with this character.
Right, like some of our last ones, like, or the one when we talked about Jane
Foster,
becoming Thor. Like, yeah, I was kind of working towards that. No, this one was just hey, let's do this.
It sounds like a cool idea, which we're going to get into it, and honestly, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Awesome.
Take it away.
So, getting into in-universe, in the early years, Gore the God Butcher would be born on a planet with no name, almost every day on the brink of starvation. He was taught to trust in the gods, but they never answer his prayers. At an early age, his mother and father would die, leaving Gore to fend for himself in the harsh environment. Because, what better way to have a villain start out?
Right? Like, oh man, that is a real rough start, too.
Cliche is cliche.
Not wrong. Okay, so years later, he married and fathered some children. So he married a woman who he fathered children with. That was ambiguously worded. Who wrote this? An Alabama?
Oh, there's one way to make some listeners mad.
Right? Okay, so years later he married a woman and fathered children. However, most of them died. Given what we know about this planet, not surprising. It's shocking Gore made it. So Gore's pregnant mate, Ara, was killed during an earthquake, and one by one his children perished until he was left with one son, Agar. When Agar was on the brink of death due to starvation, Gore sought to ease his suffering and told his son they would soon reach a forest where they would never go hungry again. Tell me I'm going to make it, Charlie. Tell me I'm going to make it home. It's like, you're going to make it home, man. We're going to go ride when we get back.
Yeah.
That's what that felt like.
It really did, because, like, that's just very empty promise. I'm sure the kid even knew it.
Right. I feel like the guy, when he was writing it, he was just, like, watching Saving Private Ryan. He's
right.
like, he's just like, I think I have an idea of where this is going.
Yep. So, becoming the God Butcher. Stricken with grief after Agar's death, Gore would give up hope and outwardly express his belief there were no gods, for which he would be exiled by superstitious people.
Yeah, his people were like pretty into the whole gods thing and that, even though they had literally no proof that any gods whatsoever gave a dang about them. Yeah, sounds familiar, right?
That sounds like some real world people.
Yeah. I wonder where they got their inspiration for this. So while wandering the desert, praying to die, Gore witnessed a pair of battling gods. A dark elder god called Null, which we got to do an episode on him one day, and a gold-armored, purple-skinned god empowered by the Enigma Force plunge out of the sky and crash land nearby. So, I mean, That's got to be an awakening.
Right? Yeah, you're pretty positive there are no gods, and then all of a sudden just two come crashing out of the sky.
Right? Arguably what he finds out later is worse, but
Oh, yeah.
proceed.
So, shocked by the realization that gods did exist, Gorr was enraged when the gold-armored god begged for help. The dark god's sword transforming into an amorphous mass of living darkness and bonded to him.
Yeah, the Null sword is pretty beast, man.
It really is.
So, yeah. So, Gorr used his new weapon, all black, the Necro Sword. That's even got a cool name. To kill the god, the gold-armored god. Then vowed to seek vengeance against all gods for never answering his prayers and set out to kill them all. Gorr despised any god and traveled the cosmos for thousands of years to exact his revenge, embarking on a deicide crusade in which he allegedly killed many gods of fear, war, chaos, genocide, revenge, plague, earthquakes, blood, wrath, jealousy, death, degradation, and a few gods of poetry and flowers.
Yeah, that was a lot of different gods, and I love how they just threw in the end. Right. Yeah, some poetry and flower gods.
Yeah, some good ones too in that. He wasn't just after the bad ones.
He just killed them all.
Which, because I don't think it says in here in our notes in that, but like basically he did find out like, yeah, when the gods exist, they did exist in that. He found out that, yeah, they just didn't really care about his people or his plan. Like,
yeah.
Like, so they just didn't pay attention to them, which arguably worse than finding out there's no gods.
Yeah, I'd rather find out there were no gods.
Yeah, than to find out like, whoa, you exist, you just don't care, and they're like, I mean, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so
that's so
on.
much worse.
Right?
So, encounters with Thor. So, at some point in the 9th century, Gorr would arrive on Earth and kill the god from the Americas, the body washing up on the shores of Iceland where it was found by Thor. At a later date, while accompanying a Viking raiding party to Russia, Thor would find some of the Slavic gods dead.
Not good. Okay, already not great. So Thor was attacked by Gorr, who nearly managed to kill Thor, but just before the killing blow, Thor conjured a lightning strike, which knocked both of them out. Gorr recovered and escaped to a cave where he once again fought Thor. Yeah, he was... Gorr, you gotta give Gorr credit on his tenacity.
Oh, yeah.
And that, like, he's got tenacity.
Especially with him and Thor, like, they go at it a lot.
Oh, yeah, they got, like, a huge history of fighting. And that for sure, as new of a character it is, they shoehorned him in, like...
Very well.
Very well.
So, despite Gorr attempting to torture Thor for information about the location of Asgard for 17 days, Thor held out long enough for his Viking worshippers to find him, distracting Gorr long enough for Thor to recover and cut off Gorr's right arm. Believing that he succeeded in slaying him. Because, you know, Thor, you know, God of Thunder still falls to that same old cliche of, oh, he's dead. Why did you think that if all you did was cut off an arm?
Right. It's one of those, like, Thor, you've met gods, right? Actually, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, 2 gods in your pantheon are missing an arm.
Yeah.
Might be 1. I'm no Nordic expert. But I think it might be 2.
Well, 1 for sure is missing his hand.
Yeah.
Because that's Tyr.
Tyr.
Because he got bitten off
by
the wolf.
the big wolf. But I thought there was another, like, missing his arm who, like, has a shield tied to it or something.
I'm pretty sure there is. There are so many gods in the
But
Norse
I'm just
pantheon.
saying in that, like, an arm, really? In that? You think a god's not recovering from that?
Yeah.
Gorr survived their encounter, however, and would spend the next 1,000 years butchering more and more gods, growing even stronger and amassing an army of dark minions to assist him in his crusade.
Ixnay on a crusade, eh?
We call it Manifest Destiny now.
What did the Americans call it? A crusade? So Thor once again would take notice of Gorr's activities centuries later and began hunting him with a prayer. When a prayer summoned him to a world without gods, recognizing Gorr's handiwork when he found out the world's deities slaughtered. While Thor went to the cave where they once fought to look for him, Gorr attacked Cronox to lay claim to the Pool of Forevers and use the blood of the time gods to traverse the time stream. That's got to be terrifying when he figures out how to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's not great. And there are There's a few time gods in this universe, so
So
he was
not gonna lie too, from doing the research, this is where stuff starts to get really complicated and confusing.
really does. But honestly, as far as like a time travel story in that, arguably not bad from what I researched.
Yeah, no.
It sounds like it was actually solidly done. And that was just saying something. Notice most of the time when time travel comes into play, it's like, oh, they ran out of ideas. But this one's actually pretty cool. Okay, so he went back to the beginning of the universe and slew one of the very first elder gods, taking the infant deity's heart as a trophy. He then headed forward in time millennia into the future and arrived in Earth 14412, claiming a desolate world to serve as his base of operations, enslaving all the gods he could capture except for Allfather Thor, who he routinely tormented over his failures.
Because, yeah, if I remember correctly, this Earth, Thor was the last surviving god from the Norse pantheon. So that's how he's the Allfather.
Oh, dang.
He's the last one.
Oof, that's rough.
Yeah, and it also makes it slightly more terrifying. Not only could he traverse times, now he's traversing universes.
Yeah, he's actually like literally jumping between dimensions.
Yeah, now he's literally going after everyone.
Oh man, dude, why can't they just stick with their own universe, man?
Because they gotta find some way to make things interesting.
I guess. Okay.
So, over the next 900 years, Gorr forced the enslaved gods to mine broken planets and the cores of stars for material to build the God Bomb, which he intended to use to exterminate all gods across the entirety of the time stream. Gorr also created constructs of his deceased wife and son from the all-black symbiote, though unbeknownst to him, his quote-unquote son embodied his subconscious self-loathing. You always gotta be careful with that black symbiote.
Yeah, I mean, that is the problem that a lot of people forget about when using the symbiotes, is it starts to retain your emotions and your thoughts.
Yep.
It starts to mimic you. Okay, so after the arrival of Thor, the Avenger from Earth 616, Gorr sent black berserkers into the past to get the young Thor from around 800 AD. The Thor he first met, and brought him back to the future where he was enslaved along with the other remaining gods. Young Thor, using a piece of a star, attempted to destroy the God Bomb, but was instead catapulted off the planet, where he met with Thor, the Avenger, and King Thor, the Thor from the future.
Yep. So this is where it gets kind of confusing, because now they're just throwing in all sorts of different Thors.
Right? Really shows how
awesome
and beastly Gorr is.
Oh, yeah. So the three decided to assault Gorr and his planet for the last time and nearly succeeded in killing him. But due to absorbing power from the other gods he had killed, Gorr would be too powerful and defeated the three Thors, also leaving them for dead, and set off to activate the God Bomb. When the construct of his wife called him a god, Gorr angrily killed her. Yeah.
Somebody was watching Star Wars Episode 3.
You're going down a path I can't follow.
And this is where kind of one of the last things we have in universe, and that. But here's how it goes. So, however, Agar, the construct of his son, decided to assist Thor the Avenger and bring down the God Butcher, having come to recognize that his father had essentially become the very thing he always despised. You were meant to destroy the gods, not join them. You were supposed to bring peace to the universe, not chaos. Charged by the prayers of the sun, as well as every single surviving god across space and time, Thor absorbed the God Bomb's blast, as well as the Necro Sword. Using its power, Thor was able to weaken Gorr, with Agar denouncing Gorr as the god of hypocrisy before Thor's past self finally killed him. So yeah, that's a pretty bitter end.
I mean, it's kind of an epic one.
Oh, amazingly epic. But I do love that whole, because honestly, I know it's a bit of a cliche and that, but I always do love the villain becoming the thing that they hate.
Oh yeah, especially because that's always sets up for an interesting story.
It does, especially when they don't really consciously recognize it.
Yeah.
Because I get the ones who just like, who do know it and that, but they're like, this is a means to an end. I had to become the thing I hate to destroy it. And that, but the ones who are just like, I see nothing wrong or hypocritical about what I'm doing. It's like, really? Like, at all?
Right.
Okay, so that's it for in-universe. Let's get into powers and abilities. Scroll down. Okay, weapons. All black, the Necro Sword. And, that's kind of it for his weapons. And just FYI, this power set, he has no actual natural powers. And that the sword is the only thing that gives him these powers that we're about to list off. Constitution, matter manipulation. Gorr can use the living abyss comprising all black to create a variety of constructs such as wings, weapons, armor, and a cloak, though all black preferred form is a sword. Gorr was also capable of creating semi-sentient offshoots of all black, dubbed Black Berserkers, to do his bidding. The sword is just OP and that. Like, honestly, when we do a Null episode on that, we'll probably get more into the sword, which I would love to do, but yeah, OP. So he also has superhuman strength, superhuman durability, superhuman speed, superhuman reflexes. At a certain point, it's more godlike because he has literal absorbed god powers.
Oh, yeah.
And that, so he also has longevity. Gorr has lived for several billion years and still looks in his prime, as a result of all black rendering him immune to aging. Yeah.
It also makes you wonder, though, if some of that's also once he figured out how to jump time. I was like, you can then, quote unquote, live for billions and billions of years, but in reality, you're only living for like a couple.
True. Wow, that's a bit of a
that's a mind bender.
That's a bit of a conundrum. Regeneration. Gorr is able to recover from a lightning strike within 4 days with no signs of injury, as well growing back or reattaching an arm that Thor had cut off. I mean, the symbiotes already give abilities like that, so the sword just ups it. And that's it for his powers and abilities, all given by the sword.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the sword, he'd be in sore trouble.
Oh, yeah, no, if it wasn't for the sword, arguably...
he would never have started.
A human could take him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, his species isn't those aliens where it's like they're a threat to a human. It's like, no, they're on our level.
Pretty much. So, now to the other media. I've always made comments about having short ones in the past, but this absolutely is the shortest.
Yeah.
Because the only appearance Gorr has outside of comics is in his MCU appearance in Thor: Love and Thunder, portrayed by Christian Bale. And that is it.
Wow. Okay, that's all.
Even Jane Foster had more.
Yeah, she did.
And she was arguably a year later than he was, or newer.
Yeah. Dang. Okay, well, folks, that's it. But I always got to ask the question to the audience and the Joker. Are you a fan?
I'd say yes, because it definitely seems very intriguing on how they did his story and how they give, like, the kind of thought process behind it and being, he's going to go kill all the gods and see what happens.
Not going to lie, yeah, no, I honestly, doing the research, because I knew about him before the movie, and I had heard about him and seen a few things of him in comics. And honestly, I always kind of liked the concept of him and thought he was a cool character. So getting to research him and learn more about him, I'm like, oh man, he did not disappoint. He was a cool concept of a character and story arc.
And I also like the design they took for Love and Thunder.
True, it was an interesting choice to give him a nose.
Also make him look human.
Oh yeah, that was also another.
but the way they designed him as a human, it looks pretty awesome.
I've seen, and honestly, I don't hate it. That I was a little disappointed we didn't get the little tentacle things off the head and that. I was like, and then I felt like they were looking at him and they were like, we have too many villains that don't have noses. For God's sakes, can we get him a nose? But yeah, folks, I'm a fan. For anyone that's still listening, if you got something out of this, enjoyed the episode, or even liked the character before from a movie, a comic, cartoon, hell, even that t-shirt that you saw one time, you're a fan too. If You want to jump on this train? Why not subscribe and share with a friend? d-rael out. Y'all keep riding them rails.